Hi, it's Ashleigh from Sweet Dreams Bake Shop, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how I made my floral painted cake. I know I've been decorating a lot of box cakes recently, however, this is completely made from scratch. It's my favorite chocolate cake recipe, and I'm filling it with peanut butter buttercream today. So firstly, what I'm doing is I'm just making sure to give a generous layer of frosting between each layer, and then I am crumb coating. Now you'll notice that in all of my cakes, I always do 4 layers of cake and 3 layers of buttercream. I do an extra crumb coat here, but really it isn't super necessary because I'm going to be adding on a lot of buttercream later on as well. So in order to create that little floral panel, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of fondant. My cake has been sitting in the refrigerator overnight, so if you find that it has completely crusted over and you cannot adhere your buttercream, just add a little bit of shortening. We want a nice smooth surface to be able to paint on, so make sure that you smooth this out completely. Now I'm going to cut off all of the excess with an exacto knife. I want this floral print to kind of be like watercolor, so I'm adding a lot of vodka in there. If you don't have access to vodka, you can always use any other clear extract like lemon extract. With the color being so runny, things can run all over the place, so be very sparing when you're applying all of this to your cake. And don't worry if things do drip a slight bit. We are going to be adding in some black definition later, which is going to pull everything together. This cake is for my friend's 30th birthday, and I got her to send me a bunch of different floral prints that she loves, and then I combined some of those ideas and made them into this floral print. Now, if you want to achieve this same look, but you're not really into hand painting it yourself, you can find your favorite flower print, and then you can just print it onto an edible image. If you don't have an edible image printer, then you could probably go to your local bakery and maybe see if they can print it off for you for a fee. You can do this portion with edible marker, but I always find my edible markers never get quite dark enough. So instead, I'm using a very thin paintbrush to apply the black food coloring. In order to add some depth, all I'm doing is I'm taking a little bit of that vodka, and if you're using lemon extract, you can use that. And I'm just taking that, dipping my paintbrush in, and then kind of drawing out from that black. And that little small amount of liquid really helps to kind of pull from that food gel, and then it creates a really nice shadow. It's really important that you make sure your crumb coat is fully hardened because you're only going to get one chance at this. So if you do mess up this portion of the buttercream, it's really hard to redo. There are always ways to fix your cake, it's just that it's going to be more difficult with this. I was very careful not to apply this too generously because I didn't want it overflowing into my floral pattern. The trick to getting this buttercream really nice and smooth is just to make sure to hold your spatula or your bench scraper in one spot, and then make sure to kind of move your turntable in one swift motion. You could leave it smooth just like that, but I'm choosing to add a little bit of texture to this with the comb. I really like the contrast of the smooth flower print against that combed out buttercream. I'm adding on this inedible pearl border, but you could easily do something that is edible with fondant. These edible pearls are my absolute favorite because it really reminds me of the type of pearls that you would find on costume jewelry. Now I'm rolling out some white fondant to create that bow on top, and I'm rolling it out thin, but not too paper thin. You do want it to have a little bit of thickness so that it comes together really easily and it can stand up right away. Sometimes if you make your fondant too thin, it's not going to stand up for a little while until it's fully dried. This way I can just stick it on without any drying needed. As you can see, I'm just pinching in that bow, and it's really pliable. Super important that you don't make your fondant too dried out, or else this can be a bit of a nightmare. Now I'm going to be folding over this section, and this is going to act as the center of my bow, which is going to cover up where those 2 spots meet. If you find things aren't adhering very easily, just add a little tiny bit of water and things will come together. Now I'm going to create the ribbon ends of the bow, and all you really need to do is make a nice thin rectangle, and you do want to make sure that you kind of mimic the same thickness that you used for the center of the bow. And then I'm just going to lay them right onto my cake first. You can lay these completely flat, but I always like to give my ribbon a little bit of movement. And now I'm going to paint the bow the exact same way that I painted that other piece of fondant. Now you'll notice that I'm really only painting the front of the bow, and this is because I know that the cake is only going to be viewed from the front. But if this were for a client, I would ask them if they needed the cake to be decorated all the way around. Of course, we always decorate all the way around, but usually I do tend to put most of the decor on the front. So if that is the case, I would charge accordingly. Now I'm just adding a little bit of gold leaf, and this is completely edible. And you'll notice I am using my chopsticks, and I'm kind of placing it haphazardly right along that fault line of the buttercream and the fondant. One of my favorite things to do with this friend is to go for afternoon tea, and we absolutely love getting dressed up. Of course, we can't do that right now, so I'm just going to give her this cake to remind her of those times. Now let's get into the pricing of this cake. It is a 6-inch chocolate cake filled with peanut butter buttercream. And although it's quite small, it does have a lot of detail in there. So I would charge $150 Canadian. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you can be part of the Sweetie fam. Right now, I'm uploading daily, so make sure you hit that notification bell so you know when I upload. Also, be sure to comment, request, or ask a question. I love hearing from you guys. Bye!